Have you ever been in a conversation with a woman you truly liked, yet no matter how respectful or attentive you were, her interest just wasn't there? You were kind, you listened, you put in effort, but strangely, the more you leaned in, the more she seemed to lean away. If you've experienced that, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not broken. I'm Lauren, and today I want to talk about something most men were never taught. When attraction fails to grow, it's rarely because you're completely off track. In many cases, you're actually doing things that would make you a great partner. The problem is timing and understanding. Attraction doesn't develop in a straight, logical line. It doesn't respond to resumes, explanations, or promises. It responds to emotion. Here's the truth you probably needed to hear years ago. This was never your fault. No one sat you down and explained how attraction really works. School didn't cover it, movies distorted it, society simplified it. So you did what made sense. You tried to show reliability. You tried to prove you were thoughtful, stable, and serious. Meanwhile, her deeper instincts were scanning for signals you didn't even know existed. Attraction starts emotionally, not intellectually. Research in evolutionary psychology shows that the human brain uses rapid mental shortcuts when deciding who feels appealing. These reactions happen quickly and often outside conscious awareness. Before she can logically explain why she feels drawn to someone, her nervous system has already made a subtle decision. When you understand that, everything changes. You stop chasing approval. You stop over-communicating your value. You stop trying to convince someone to see what you offer. Instead, you begin to embody qualities that naturally create desire. You become magnetic without forcing it. The first trigger is something simple but powerful: masculine presence. And no, this has nothing to do with height, muscles, or fashion. It's about the energy you project. When you walk into a space, do you move like you belong there? Or do you unconsciously minimize yourself and search for validation? Presence is felt before it's analyzed. A man who moves with calm intention, who isn't rushing his words or movements, who doesn't constantly check reactions to measure his worth, sends a silent message of security. His posture is open but relaxed. His pace is steady. He doesn't need to dominate the room, yet he doesn't disappear into it either. That grounded energy is rare, and rarity increases perceived value. When something feels uncommon, it becomes intriguing. When a man is centered within himself, not seeking approval and not trying to perform, he creates emotional safety and quiet tension at the same time. That combination is powerful. Imagine you're at a social event. Instead of scanning the room anxiously or overthinking every move, you slow yourself down. You let your shoulders drop back naturally. Your breathing becomes deeper and more controlled. You make eye contact without staring. You listen without rushing to respond. You're not there to compete. You're not there to impress. You're simply there. That internal adjustment may seem small, but externally, it transforms how you're perceived. People feel it, especially women. Her subconscious notices that you're composed. You're not reactive. You're not seeking permission to exist. There's a steadiness about you. And that steadiness communicates strength. Not loud strength, not aggressive strength, but contained strength. The kind that says you're comfortable in your own skin. The kind that doesn't need constant reassurance. When a woman senses that you are internally balanced, something shifts in her perception. You no longer feel like a man trying to win her over. You feel like a man who already values himself. That difference changes the entire dynamic. It's not about being louder. It's not about talking more. It's not about performing confidence. It's about becoming centered enough that your energy speaks before your words do. When that happens, attraction has room to grow naturally. And that feeling she picks up on, that quiet, grounded certainty, it's powerful. It wasn't that you pushed harder. It's that you became more grounded in who you are. That shift changes everything. The second trigger is emotional challenge. A lot of men fall into the habit of agreeing with everything a woman says because they're afraid that any disagreement will ruin their chances. But attraction doesn't grow from constant agreement. A little tension, when it's playful and respectful, actually builds chemistry. Tension isn't about arguing. It's about contrast. Let's say she tells you she loves waking up at 5 a.m. every day. Instead of instantly agreeing, you grin and say, "That's impressive. You definitely look like someone who fights the snooze button for at least 20 minutes." It's light. It's teasing. It's not an attack. That kind of playful pushback shows you're comfortable expressing yourself. You're not there to impress her at any cost. You're there to engage. That spark of polarity creates magnetism. Attraction needs differences to create energy. The third trigger is selective attention. This is where many men overdo it. They reply in seconds every time. They cancel plans to stay available. They make her the center of their schedule immediately. But when attention is given too freely and too fast, it can lower perceived value. A man who has options and a full life isn't always instantly accessible. You should absolutely show interest. But you also need to have interests. Your goals, hobbies, friendships, and ambitions matter. When your world doesn't revolve around her, she feels that you have depth. You're not orbiting her life. You're inviting her into yours. That balance creates curiosity. Scarcity, when it's natural and not manipulative, builds intrigue. The fourth trigger is intentional listening. Not just nodding while she talks, but actually remembering what matters to her. When you bring up something she mentioned days ago, you instantly stand out. Being truly seen is rare. Maybe she casually tells you she loves orchids. A few days later, you send her a photo of one you noticed and say it reminded you of her. That small gesture shows you were present. You cared enough to remember. When attention to detail is paired with strong, calm energy, it becomes incredibly attractive. Emotional connection grows much faster from that than from empty compliments. The fifth trigger is calibrated vulnerability. Some men believe they must appear flawless and unshakable, but real connection doesn't come from perfection. It comes from honesty shared with confidence. When you open up about a past struggle or a lesson you learned, without sounding bitter or playing the victim, you become relatable and real. Strength isn't pretending you have no weaknesses. It's being secure enough to acknowledge them. When vulnerability is balanced with emotional stability, it builds trust. And trust is what allows desire to deepen. The sixth trigger is gradual, respectful physical touch. Research shows that light touch can release oxytocin, the bonding hormone. A brief touch on her arm during a shared laugh. A gentle brush of the shoulder as you guide her through a doorway. Nothing forced. Nothing rushed. These subtle moments create positive associations in her mind. She begins linking your presence with warmth and comfort. And now the final trigger, the most powerful one. Controlled unpredictability. The brain craves dopamine, and dopamine is strongly connected to anticipation and uncertainty. When you're slightly unpredictable in a healthy way, you become fascinating. This doesn't mean being inconsistent or unreliable. It means keeping balance. Sometimes you initiate plans. Sometimes you let her reach out. Sometimes you're warm and playful. Sometimes you challenge her. You don't reveal everything about yourself at once. That sense of mystery keeps her thinking about you even when you're not around. These aren't manipulative tricks. They're psychological principles. Use them with respect and awareness. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to change who you are. You just need to understand the dynamics at play and apply them intentionally. Now you have the tools.